Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Ilui Nishmas Mordechai. I want to start off with something that actually moved me a lot, and for a different reason, not MDY related, even though there's a nice MDY part here. But I thought this was, to me, it was very emotional. It goes like this. This individual on the screen, Moshe Banda, that's not his mustache, that's actually smoke from his vape coming out of his nose. He's a bus driver for B&H. And he's making a chasana tonight. Mazel tov. So what did he do for the chasana? Look up the chasana, he donated $360 to MDY. And he says that, you know what, let me just play it and you'll understand. So he gave $360. That's the red arrow on the bottom. And the red arrow on top, he explains.
If you want, you can add this in.
This is a message to Yisrael Goldstein.
I sent you the quick pay to sponsor the shir. Within 15 minutes, a friend of mine sent me a quick pay for a lot more money to cover the chasana, totally unexpected. Out of left field unexpected. So, Eli can have another segula story, but
segula story.
This just happened. This is real. I sent you $360, Machava Shikmach $1,340, a quick pay to cover the Simcha. Go figure.
Why is this unbelievable? To me, his friend wasn't asked. His friend didn't care. His friend just decided on his own to send $1,300 to another chaver. Friend is making a chasana. Let me be mishtatev in the Simcha. I thought it's unbelievable. It happens a lot by Hasidim, and we have a lot to learn from them. You're making a chasana. He never said he needs the money. Look, he was able to donate $360 to cover the chasana. You know what, my friend's making a chasana, let me give him $1,340. I thought it's beautiful. Mom is beautiful. All right, Yishkoyach. So you should have a big Simcha, big Mazel Tov. You should see a lot of nachas. Yankel Cohen. You're not become Hasidish. Let's see. Rabbi, what's your quick pay? Rabbi, so what is your quick pay? Your email. What is your email? Rabbi, start sending money to Avi Factor. He's making chasana. Yankel Cohen. Quick question. Any plans to be at a live share in Chicago? If yes, what days and around what timing? Now, the truth is, before I put this email in about 15 minutes ago, I really didn't think much about it. I am going to be in Chicago, Be'ezer Hashem. I'm leaving tomorrow after shir. Tonight there's going to be another shir. I'm not sure. Is there a shir here at night? The halacha shir exists here? So hopefully 9 o'clock tonight is a shir on Tuesday's daf. On Wednesday's daf. Tomorrow morning at 7:15 is Tuesday's daf. And then I'll be in Chicago for a Wednesday shir, Thursday, 5 shir basically, from Wednesday to Sunday. So exactly where it's going to be, hopefully not Sala, but I don't know if it's available. Hi Rebelli, I loved your Hasidish Torah yesterday, how the Rebbe frees a Yid by being Mekusher to the Rebbe, illustrated by having the Rebbe Mekasher with tefillin. Okay, took it in his own little... I'm now convinced that you are Bepnimius, a real Hasidish Beindel. What's a Beindel? I don't know what that is, but I am a Hasidish Beindel, whatever that is. Huh? Your Talmud since Masechta Shabbos, Shlomo Rosenzweig from Toronto. So we have here one white bearded fellow from Shabbos, and here's another white or gray bearded fellow. Here I'm learning the daf on my hotel balcony. How do you pronounce that in the French Riviera? Cannes, by the French Riviera. Been with you since brachas Daf Beis. It's funny, we didn't have anybody from brachas Daf Beis. Suddenly when this big trip on the cruise is becoming more of a reality, many more people have been with us since brachas Daf Beis. Because you have to be since brachas Daf Beis or Shabbos. Well, we're letting the Shabbos people in also. You're with us since brachas Daf Beis. You're supposed to say brachas Daf Beis. Then you're invited on the Sid Wellman from Toronto. Wait a minute. Oh, he's also from Toronto. I didn't chap. Shlomo Rosenzweig from Toronto. Sid Wellman from Toronto. By Levi Cohen. Hi, last week you spoke about the idea of Toyamel on Erev Shabbos, and I was taken out of control in America. And there's no makar for it. Although one should be careful not to eat too much, so you can be hungry for Shabbos. Rabbi Shemei and Morgenstern, Shlita, writes that Toyameh is what physically prepares our bodies for the coming days of Mashiach. Oh, there's a makar. And if you're not hungry when you come to Shabbos, you mamish prepare for Mashiach. That's not what he says. They're mekoros to eat toyamel, not mekoros to eat a lavish meal. I love your shir, always inspires me. Thank you from Levi Cohen.
It's brought down. You're supposed to taste the food.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the makor. It is halachic.
Oh, he didn't write. No. Somebody else wrote that. I just brought.
Just happened. Jonathan Stefansky just sent over to my account 1 cent.
Let's see. Bring it over here. I knew that's going to happen. Did you really? No, it's the thought that counts. So the Rabbi, I start sending him 1 cent. Everybody in the show give him 1 cent, 20,000 cents. It's a lot.
The bigger news is I offered and he said no. That was the bigger news.
Jonathan Stefansky sent in 1 cent. Rabbi say, you know what to give Jonathan Stefansky for his upcoming chasana? Bezer Hashem. The Koilel, anonymous from Lakewood, the Refuah Shalom's Esther Baz Belo, and the second sponsor of the Koilel, Nishmas Chai ben Moshe, Nishmas B'Tzal ben Moshe. The Masechta, $9,000 by Moshe Banda to thank Hashem that I'm able to thank Him for everything that I have. And Bezer Hashem, you should all be zoicha to be able to sponsor the Masechta. The Paras HaChodesh, Nishmas Chai bas Yosef. Paras HaChodesh, Nishmas. Jeff Rosner's son, Yosef, Simcha, Chaim, Ben, Shlomo, Yehuda. We're happy that you're with us today, Jeff. Paras HaChodesh, Hashem should open up all the tzinorot bracha for Baruch Tzvi Nissim, Ben, Shoshana Lea. Paras HaChodesh, Lakewood Lebovic families, Lakewood NJ, because torah and achdus are the best segula. Paras HaYom, Eli Nishmas, Kalman Yaakov Aryeh, Zev Ben haRav, Zev Dov, Kalman Halpern, by his daughter, son-in-law, Dinah and Chaim Lewitan. Wow, 2 in a week. By Gershon Rose, Lili Nishmas, my father-in-law, haRav Atzadik Mordechai ben Moshe, Ebenson, Zeichat Tzag Livracha, whose Shiva ends today, and on the occasion of our son Moshe's bar mitzvah today. Wow! So I'm just reading this now for the first time. That means that the mother of the bar mitzvah boy is getting up for Shiva today on her son's bar mitzvah. So it comes out. May today's learning be a life-altering zechus for those struggling with shidduchim. Is the third sponsor, the fourth sponsor, Benjamin Kaufman, in honor of my wife Linda on our 31st wedding anniversary, Mazel Tov, and the fifth sponsor, Moshe Braun, on the marriage of my daughter tonight in Ateres Sharon Muncie. Hope to see you all. And Jonathan, please send some quick pay to Moshe Braun. Okay, so yesterday we did the Mishnah. Eved Shasoy Rabbi Apoitiki. Apoitiki Koi, which is, I'm putting this Eved as the collateral. We'll see in the Gemara, there's 2 types of Apoitikis. It could be an Apoitiki where this is the only collateral, and if something happens to the slave, you have nothing, you can't come after me, or sometimes it's just a stam collateral. So, in a nutshell, this is the sugya a little bit. I'll try to, it could look confusing, but what happened was that Eved Shasoy Rabbi Apoitiki, up top here, he made his slave, and Apoitiki said, collect, I borrowed money from you, here's a nice Eved, you can collect from him. And he went ahead and he freed him. Who freed him? So we have a machlokes Rav and Ula. Rav says the loiva, the one that owns the slave, he's the one that freed him. Ula says the malva, he doesn't even own him, he freed him. How could that be? It can't be. But it's enough to make a name out there that he's freed, and people are going to start saying, well, you're a freed slave, and they're going to start talking about the kids. So we tell the real owner to free him. He causes damage here, this malva. So that's the sugya. The loiv and the malva. Now, if that's the case, we're just going to say the whole sugya Baal Peh for a second here, because Yoshi did a nice job here. It says in the Mishnah, Shurs Hadin la'alacha ein ha'eved chayev klum. Why? Because if you're mafkia shibud, we learned yesterday, if the loiva says this is the shibud, this is the collateral, and you release that collateral, you can't come after me. So you can't go after anyone. But if you say that it's the malva, and he released, so what do you mean ein ha'eved chayev klum? His master released him. It wasn't his master that released him. Somebody else released him. So what it means, Ein Chayev Klum, you have to say Pshat, means he's not Chayev in mitzvahs. The Eved is still an Eved. In other words, When the malva released the slave, nothing happened. Zero change. He's still not chayv in mitzvahs. He's not a free person. So then and then you just see here, if the loiv is the one that freed him according to Rav, then who do we force to free him? We force the other guy, the malva. And if the malva is the one that freed him, then who do we force to free? We force the original owner, the real owner to free him. Okay, fine. We'll see it inside. So we could start from where it says Gemara, just to do a quick chazara. Eved shasoy rabbi apoitek of shichuroi, mi shichuroi amarav rabbi rishoy. I'm going to go to what I did here because I didn't really see that Yoshi did this. I just did a very simple chart. There's a loiva and a malva. There's a borrower and a lender. The borrower actually has a slave. So the borrower, he's holding on to the slave's hand. He said, take the slave as collateral. If I don't pay you back, take the slave. And then who released him? According to Rav, that loiva released him. Rabbi Rishon, Shur Sadin ein Eved Chayiv Klum LeRabbi Sheni. At the end of the day, the slave doesn't owe anybody anything. Why should he have to pay the malva anything? He didn't release himself. Somebody else released him. So, yes, you're right. He was supposed to work for the guy with the fancy car. He's supposed to be his slave. And now he's not. Now he's a free man. He's a regular Jew, the Kol Dover. So why should he owe him anything? Kidarava, Domarava, and what the Gemara just explains, Hegdish Chametz V'Shichur, which is brought 6 times in Shas, but never in Psachim. If I tell you this animal is your collateral, and I make it for the Mizbeach, for Hegdish, or I say this pizza is your collateral, and then Pesach comes along and makes it also for me to eat, or give it to you even though you're a guy, I can't give it to you. Or I say the slave is your slave for collateral, and then I release him. Mafkim de shibud. It removes the lien, the shibud. What is shibud, by the way, Rabbi Isai? It keeps on going back and forth in my head. There's a Maaser Shahaya in the Mir Yeshiva in Poland. The Bacher was sitting there for 2 weeks discussing what is shibud. Is shibud like a half a kinyan, or it's a t'nai in a kinyan? They're going back and forth. What does the word shibud mean? What does it mean? This collateral, I'm a shubba to you. And one of the boys happened to be on a train and he bumped into Baruch Ber, Zeichat Tzadik Bracha, famous Baruch Ber, and he was so excited that finally Baruch Ber is going to try to make some sense out of the sugya. They're working on it for 2 weeks. So he told Baruch Ber all the tzdadim, the tanai, and the kinyan, and the chatzi kinyan, and this and that. And Baruch Ber said, Bacharol, listen to me very carefully. Shibud is shibud. And the Bacher went back to yeshiva and he said, you're not going to believe this. I bumped into Baruch Ber and he said, shibud is shibud. Hakishkin Chaynik, it's not a chatzi kinyan, it's a shibud. And then the Bacher were down for another 2 weeks. What did Baruch Ber mean when he said shibud is shibud? Anyways, shichur is mafkim midei shibud. Elam, to save the world, Bashuk, V'yoymer lo yav diat top of Mem Aleph, Amud Aleph, 40 daf into Gittin. It's amazing. I don't remember it being so gishmaker, but I remember from yeshiva was a little tough and rough. And now I'm mamish enjoying it. V'yoymer lo yav diato. This guy is going to look at him and say, look, you're really my slave. We could relate to this. I gave you $20,000 and you never paid up, and you promised me if you don't pay, I'm going to give you a slave. So he tells the guy, look, you're about to be mine. Okay, you're my slave. And then it's going to be Moitzi Laz Albanov, Koifin Rabbi Sheni, V'isai ben Chayrin. So we go, the Rabbi Sheni. Who's this Rabbi Sheni? He's not his rabbi. The Gemara is going to talk about it. He's not his master. He's a fake master. He's a pretend master. He could be a potential master. But today, a slave could only have one master. Well, he could have two if they're partners. But right now, there's one master, it's the guy on the right, the loiva. So we forced the malva to sign a document saying, I released the slave that's not even mine. So that no one could open up their mouth and say that there's a problem here. And therefore, the slave, we tell the slave, you know what? Because now you're completely free, write up a document, pay up the malva. You should have been working for that guy, now pay him. Why should the slave pay up? The guy on the right, the loiva who borrowed the money, let him pay up. What's a machlokes? When you damage the shibud, what's shibud? Shibud is shibud. When you damage the lien, let's call it the lien, it's better than collateral. When I damage a lien, what's a lien? A lien it's not tangible. You have he's a walking person, but it's just a lien. So when you damage that lien, is it considered you did real damage? The marsavar chayev, marsavar potter. Okay, maybe. So that's the machlokes. Idmarnami hamazik shibush chaveroi. If you damage a lien, your friend's lien, you damage the lien. He didn't collect yet. You put this aside. You said, "Hey, when it comes time and I don't pay you back, take it from here." And you went ahead and you damaged it. You burnt it. You took it away. You whatever you did to it. Fine. So you see, there's a machlokes. Mefurish a machlokes. They say hamazik shiabudish chaveira. It's not like we're assuming that this is the machlokes. It says mefurish. Hamazik shiabudish chaveira. This is the headline. A guy goes ahead and he damages a shibud. Does he have to pay or not? And we have a machlokes. Ula Omar mi shichroi Rabbi Sheni. So still looking at this same simple chart. Who is the original releaser? Again, the loiva borrowed money, the guy on the right borrowed money. He set aside a slave to pay back, he didn't pay back yet. And the malva, the fancy guy in the fancy Rolls Royce, whatever, he decides he's going to release the slave that's not his. You all asked, you jumped. How can you do that? You can't. But he did it anyway. And he made a call. Now people are going to say, oh, the slave is a released slave. Look at him. He's a Jew called Davar, and here he is. He's having relations with a shifcha and this. What's going on here? Look at his children. He wants to put them in cheder all of a sudden. The psula. So I just showed it to you before because the lashon in the Mishnah. Just to remember the lashon in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says Ilui klum. What Ilui klum? It means nothing happened to him. What's the exact lashon? Eino eved chayev klum. So chayiv, when you read the Mishnah, you and I read the Mishnah, chayiv klum means he's not obligated in a monetary chiyuv. Chayiv usually means on money. No, according to this pshat of Ula, chayiv means he's not chayiv any mitzvahs. Klum means zero, but this guy is chayiv in mitzvahs like a woman. The point is, he didn't add any mitzvahs to his repertoire. He's chayiv in whatever mitzvahs a woman is chayiv, and when the malva releases him, he's still chayiv in those exact amount of mitzvahs, nothing changed. Ein chayiv klum, he didn't add any mitzvahs. In other words, his releasing of the slave is zero. Mamish zero. So if it's zero, why does the original real owner, why does he have to release him? The guy with the fancy car writes a document to somebody that he doesn't own and he says, you're free. Now people in the street say, oh, the slave is free. So we have a big problem. He caused a lot of damage here when he shouldn't have. The loiva who loves the slave and he didn't do anything and he wanted to pay back and he's going to pay back. Koifin, it's Rabbi Rishon v'oisa oisoi ben Choyrin, and he has to release his real slave. V'koisev, now the slave goes out free. V'koisev shtar al domov. Now, so the malva released the slave. The malva was supposed to get the slave in lieu of the loan. Okay, he lent this guy $10,000. And the guy said, here's a slave that's worth $20,000. I'm putting it aside as a lien. Says the malva, I'm releasing the slave. Meaning, I'm moichel the chayv. You don't owe me $10,000. But the slave is worth 20, and we just released a $20,000 slave. So now the slave has to pay $10,000, the remainder, the difference, because the malva was moichel his share. So the only thing that remains valuable here is the difference between what he owed the malva, what the loiva owed the malva, and what the slave is worth. And that difference, the eved pays. The eved doesn't have to pay anything. Who has to pay? The malva. The malva who started this whole problem, who released a slave that wasn't his, and that forced the loiva to release the slave completely. should pay the loiva whatever he's owed, the difference. Okay. B'maikum mifligi. Oh. B'maikum mifligi. B'hezek shein nikah mifligi. It's not. You don't see. You look at the slave. He looks the same. He actually is a completely different person now. He went from being chay, from being a chay b'mitzvah kisha. Now he's completely. But is it damage that you could? But it's in levels of damage. It's in the middle somewhere. There's damage that you completely don't see. If I'm matama, they say famous halacha that we learned. You matama somebody's fruit. He has an apple. Your tummy, touch it. You can't see. You can use a microscope, do whatever you want. Over here, he's a changed person now. He's completely changed. So yes, you don't see it on him, but he does start wearing whatever. You could see somewhat different. So, but it's a hezek shein nikah. What? What? No, but that's hezek shein nikah means the outcome, not what you did. The outcome. Because of you, I had to free the slave. So what did I do though? Now that no, he freed the slave. We're talking about he freed the slave, and that is the shaila of his hezek nikah. No, he freed the slave. Today, the slave doesn't work for you anymore. But is it hezek nikah? Did he burn something? Did he kill somebody? No. We go with Rashi. Punk this week in one of those chidushi torah things, they had a shaila. It's a gross thing, but I got to push some buttons. A rat in Bnei Brak fell into a pot of chont in the yeshiva, and the guy took the rat out and went weiter, and he wanted to know, does he have to tell the whole yeshiva what happened? Because it's hezek shein nikah. If you taste the chont, it tastes a little bit better, not worse. Maaser shaya. Does he have to tell? It's hezek shein nikah. You can't really. The whole sum of this 300-liter chont, there's no difference. But l'maisa is gross. If people knew about it, they wouldn't eat from it. No one would eat from it. Hezek shein nikah. See, I have an idea. Seriously, Yosef, you sit next to him. As he opens his mouth, I mean, usually at this time he's good. But then he got excited. Somebody gave him some money for the chas, and he's all wild up. He's going for the whole shir now. Wow. No, but going back to what you said before, the Malva obviously he wasn't Meshacher the slave. Maybe that's what you're talking about. The Malva can't be Meshacher the slave. But he caused the Levit to be Meshacher the slave. Okay. It's fine. That changed something? That makes you feel better? That he didn't, I hear what you're saying. No, he gave him a get shichur. He did do something. He wrote a document that said you're Meshucher. Halachically, it's not Meshucher. Okay, that's what you're fine. Givaldi. Says Gemara, 10 minutes? No. Yeah, we got to. Ula, my time Elohim Karav. So why does Ula says that the second master, the one that's not his real, the guy on the left is the one that was Meshacher? Why did he say that the guy on the right was the one that freed him? Ula, my time Elohim Karav. Omelach Sheni Rabbit's Karsley. I'm sorry. Yeah. Omelach Sheni Rabbit Karsley. You calling him a Rav? No, he's not. Rav my time Elohim Kula. You can't say he sent him free. He didn't do anything. Zero. Halachically, he didn't do anything. Okay? Now, we went from Eved to a field. This is.
How does the shikha of the Rabbi Sheni help? It helps me come Zaken Laden that is Meshachar him.
No. What do you mean zero? Zero happened. We just forced the first guy to do a real shikha. He does nothing. He made a fake document. He says, here, this is your get, but I'm nobody. It's like a random person divorcing your wife. But you have to divorce her now because, I'm saying leads here. What?
He has to pay the difference.
Yeah, he has to, because he caused him damage. Well, that's the machlokes. Does he have to pay or not? He caused the loiva to free him and lose a slave.
That's sad as a fight to that.
Why is it a chayv to Evan? First of all, we don't care about the chayv of the Evan. No. What time out? The slave got a real get shikhr from his real master at the end of the day. Nothing to do with Zachan Adam.
But that's Mechayv him another $10,000.
It's Mechayv the Malva because he caused a damage to the loiva.
Or Mechayv the Eved himself who said that.
So you mean he gave him a schul? Yeah. Why does the Eved have to pay? Because he's a free man now. He's free. Who cares? Yeah. Exactly. It's not like you can't typically do that, but because we want the world to go, nobody to talk about your kids, so you're gonna have to pay up. Azai? I don't know. I don't remember which Dibra Maskil you're looking at. Lefi Rashi Dibra Maskil Hezek Sheni Nikar Shmei Hezek, and he says Interesting. I hear. He says that Rashi is saying that he only has to pay how much he benefits from it. That kind of answers your question. Zok the Gemara. Itmar I set aside a field, and this field you're gonna take I'm gonna pay you back the loan, and comes a river, and Rashi says it's an everlasting river. It's like the Everglades. It turned into the Everglades. You can never cultivate it. You can't do anything with this field. Gone. It's worthless. Says the Gemara, Ami Shaper Na Omer Beichron. You look on the side, and the Gilin Shad says, literally, Ami Shaper Na, the beautiful Ami, the very handsome Ami. That was his nickname. Very handsome. I guess he was strikingly handsome. Omer Beichron, Einoi Govim Shar Nechasim. The Rebbe says, that's it. Since I put aside this field, I didn't say only this field. We're going to see in a second what happened exactly. But that's it. His field went pfeifen, your low went pfeifen. Not true. I set aside a field, but there's no field. I go to another field. Because he's so good looking. Comes out that he says terrible things. So Eliyakim from the Koil said that if you look in Masechet Tainis, I'll say it just real quickly. He said a very nice vart that over there it says the thing I forget who it was. Rav Yosef, someone that the Caesar's daughter said, "How does such an ugly person like you have such beautiful torah?" So he told her, you remember the Maaser? He told her, take the wine, put it in golden vessels, and the golden vessels ruin the wine. The Gemara says, the uglier you are, the better your torah lasts. So man, that's what he's saying. You're so good looking, so your torah is not so good. Okay, fine. Tetargim shmaite do'amar lei. So he's more tetargim shmaite do'amar lei lo yelecha peroin elamizu. Oh, so when you say this is the only collateral, that's it. So there's really no machlokes. Shapir Noah said it's talking about such a case. He's talking about the one that's machlok on him is talking about a regular case. Okay. So if I say only this, you can only that. If I say this is your collateral and it floods, you can take it from any field. And it says mefurish. This is the only one. And it goes Mishana Chasim. You put aside a field, let's say for your wife's ksuba, and then you decided to sell it. You could go after other fields. Yes, a regular person could go and get another field. A woman goes back to the original collateral. Because when she got married, it's as if she made a t'nai. If we get divorced, you're going to give me this field and this field only. Because when it comes to fields, Rashi points out, you don't know who the first one is, who the second one is. You always go back to the last field that was sold. Let's say a guy has 5 fields, and every year he sells 1 field. So the woman would have to go to the field that was sold on year 5, not to year 4, 3, 2, 1, because the last collateral, the one that's closest to her. But she can't figure it out. Why should this woman run around and find out who bought from my husband this field, that field? It's too much work. You promised me a ksuba from this field, give it from this field. But chayiv, he's a man, let him go figure it out. Zok Deiligi Mishnah. This is one of the most famous Mishnahs in entire Shas. Everybody knows this Mishnah. Sponsored by Eli Friedman. Lili Nishmas, my dear father, Chaim Avram Shalom Yerucham ben Yisrael David Olav Shalom. Misha Chetzi Eved v'Chetzi Ben Chayim. You have a slave who's a half a slave. Let me just find it here real quickly. Here we go. Otazai. Here's a slave, and here's a half a slave. And this is what it would look like if he's a full Ben Chayim. Okay? So this slave is a half a slave and half a Ben Chayim. He's half yeshiva bacher, half slave. How did it happen? Because he was owned by two brothers. He got a Yerusha, owned by partners, and one partner decided to mess up the other partner. We had the story yesterday. He released his entire share. Not to be confused with what the Gemara is going to be talking about when you have one individual owning a slave and he releases 50% of what he owns. No. Over here, the guy released 100% of what he owns, which leaves the slave 50-50. Here's the riddle that I was supposed to tell you in the beginning of the shir. How's it possible that a human being could get engaged to a woman on Sunday, be mekadesh a woman on Sunday, but on Monday he cannot be mekadesh her? On Tuesday he could, and on Wednesday he can't. What happened? This Mishnah, according to Yerushalmi, Sunday he is a slave. Monday he's not a slave. Monday he does whatever he wants. Divrei Beis Hillel. Happens to be that the Minchas Chinuch, so many halachas, I don't know how many, he always discusses. And what is the halacha when it comes to a chetzi ev, a chetzi menchayrin? The whole sefer is full of chetzi ev, chetzi menchayrin because it's fascinating halachas and differences. And what's his status? He's a chayv mitzvahs like Isha on Sunday, chayv mitzvahs like Ish on this. What do you do? Says Gemara Bishami, it says the Mishnah Bishami Oimrim Tikantim Israel Boy V'Satzim Tikantim. Nothing happened to partner number two. He gets his Monday, his Wednesday, his Friday, like he always got. Nothing changed. But V'Satzim Tikantim, but the slave is up a creek. Why? Lisa Shivcha Yefsha. He cannot get married. The problem is he can't get married. He can't marry a Shivcha because he can't be married to somebody on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. It doesn't work like that. Shikva chetzi ben chayr. Bas chayr niyevsha. He can't marry a freed woman. Shikva chetzi evet, and he can't marry a regular. Yibatel. So what? He shouldn't get married at all. The entire world. What's the first mitzvah in the Torah? Pruruvu. It's a very, very strong lashon. They talk about it. Like, why did the Mishnah bring a pasuk from Navi? The Torah, the first mitzvah in the Torah. No, because it's not as strong. Over here, Lisoyu bara. I did not create my world, bro. I didn't create the world for soyu, for desolation. L'sheves yitzara. I created my world. The earth was created l'sheves, to inhabit it. What's the big deal? Why do you have to free him? He has an eitzah. There is one person in the world this guy can marry. Who? No. Nice try. It's not a bad chap. He can marry mamzeres. So let him find the shidduch. There's a special shadchanim that specializes in mamzerim. Find the mamzeres. Says Taisus, because I don't want to make a takana that's going to ruin the world. Because all their children are going to be mamzerim forever. So we have to find them a better eitzah. Says the Gemara, so what do you do to help the world? We force the master to free him. The Yosef shtar achatzi damav. So the slave has to pay half of what he's worth. No, Rabbi Dambi, same thing. Let me ask you a question. What if the slave can't have children? He can't be part of this pruruvu. So the Goyim say that he's potter in a chanami. You don't have to free him. The whole problem is Shabbos Yisara. It's only in a situation you don't say loy plug or whatever. Says the Mishnah amazing. V'chazru Beisil lahariz k'divrei Bishamai. Beisil realized that Bishamai are correct. They took it back. They retracted. They said, "You're right. We force him to free his slave." So I don't want you to be confused there. We're talking about a completely different case than the Mishnah. We're talking about a case that there's only one master. And, sponsored by Mordechai Sapaznik, in my honor, Yishkoyach Mordechai. And it's sponsored by the Tehillim group, Tehillim.8min.com. Join now. Rebbe Oimer Kana v'Chacham Oimer Loi Kana. If you release 50% of whatever you own, Rebbe says the slave acquires that 50%, and Chacham say it doesn't work. He's 100% a slave. Nothing happened. Omer Rabba. So I'm thinking if we should go, okay, Omer Rabba, Machlokes Bishtar. The Rebbe Savar v'Hevdalin of Dasa. So let me just go to this pasuk real quickly. Here's the pasuk. V'Hevdalin of Dasa, Oichuv Shalei Nitan La. One thing is clear. We don't need any Gemara or anything. V'Hevdalin of Dasa. You didn't redeem this slave. Now let's overview. We spoke about it yesterday. Again, we're talking about a very special halacha called Shifcha Charufa. The way, there's a machlokes what it is. Yesterday we explained one way, and this is how we're going to explain it now until we get to another point in the Gemara. We're talking about a woman, a shifcha. Vi shifcha nechrefes leish. Here you can see the whole pasuk. Vi shifcha nechrefes leish. Shifcha charufa. Okay? Going back to that. Now what? She's a half a slave, half a bas chayrin. She's half and half. She's married to Eved Ivri. And she has an affair, she cheats on her husband. So, Esha says, Chayiv Misa. What about her? Not Chayiv anything, Chayiv a carbon. Okay? Nothing. But how did she become a half and half? How did she become? So, V'hev they learn of Dasa. When I tell you in English, you redeemed somebody, you didn't redeem somebody, what am I talking about? I'm talking about cash, I'm talking about money. So the words V'hev they learn of Dasa mean money. It's not so clear it's talking about a shtar. I don't know. With different limudim, I'm going to tell you that those words mean a shtar. But kesef, so for the entire sugya, kesef is much better than shtar. Maybe everybody agrees that I could release a half a slave with money and not with a shtar. Or maybe there's a machlokes in kesef. But if there's a machlokes in kesef, there's certainly a machlokes in shtar. And there's even a shita that nothing happens with shtar. Okay. Says the Gemara. Now that we know this. So let me go back to this. Just very simple. Here you have the same person, right? The guy in the right and the guy in the left, the same person. But if he released his eved with a shtar, then we have a machlokes, whether or not he becomes a half and half. Half a slave, half a benchar. The Rebbe Savar v'hev the levidosa yichuv shelo nitan lo makeshtar lekesef. So I have a hekesh. Between hekesh means it's in the same pasuk. The same pasuk I showed you the words before. It talks about kesef in the top. It talks about shtar in the bottom. They're the same. Rebbe holds it's the same. Makeshtar lekesef makesef v'nkuli benchetzei. Just like kesef. If I give my eved, the eved gives the master money. Somebody gives the master $1,000 here. Take this almanas that your master has no permission to touch the money. And he gives his master $1,000. The guy says, "What are you crazy? You're worth $2,000. You know what? Give me the $1,000. I release 50% of you." Does it work or not? Yes. It works. 50%. Yes. What about if the master gives the slave a document that says 50% of you is released? Does it work or not? Rebbe says yes. It's in the same pasuk. It's brought down, I think, 36 times in Shas. Here it is. La la me'isha. In the pasuk of Shifcha, it says the word la. In the pasuk of a woman, a regular woman, the famous, because of the Savior increases, the whole Masechtas Gittin is based on this pasuk. It says la. So, ma'isha chetzi loy, af eved nami chetzi loy. You can't divorce a half a woman. You can't tell your wife you're half divorced. No such thing. So to a slave, you can't divorce him half. So over here, according to Rabbah, when it comes to money, everybody agrees that money, there's no machlokes. Rabbanon say that if the slave gives half the money, he goes out 50%. Or whatever the deal is, with money, he goes out 50%. Peduya, veina peduya, that's what the pasuk says. Vehevda le'nivdasa. You see, even in this place, it's the same pasuk. Vehevda le'nivdasa. She's semi-released. That's how they're learning the pasuk. Yeah? You with me? What's going on, Mendy? You good? Good. Perhaps this is machlokes. Check this out. I just took the two psukim. La is on the right. Kesef and shtar is on the left. The hekesh is in one pasuk. You see, the first part of the pasuk is talking about money. The second part of the pasuk is talking about shtar. Do I compare kesef to shtar? The Gzeir Shava is two different parshias. One is talking about a shivcha, and one is talking about a regular woman. La Gzeir Shava. What's stronger? Where do you want to learn from? You can learn from either one, but they give you two different outcomes. The one on the left, Gzeir Shava, tells me that it's like a regular woman. A regular woman you can't divorce half. The one on the left tells me that kesef is like shtar is like kesef, and just like kesef you could redeem half a slave, so shtar you could redeem a half a slave. So which one do I learn from? Depends which one is stronger. Perhaps that's the machlokes. Marsav Gzeir Shava adifa, Marsav Kesha adifa, Marsav Gzeir Shava adifa. That's the machlokes. Which one is stronger? Loi, the Kulav Gzeir Shava adifa. Everybody holds that Gzeir Shava is stronger. I recommend that we check Rashi real quickly. The Kulav Gzeir Shava adifa. The kivin the mufna lidroi shavle kiman the kaspi begufi the kra. I love this Rashi because Rashi explains what Gzeir Shava is. Since the words are extra, la miisha, those two words are extra, so it's as if it's written mefurish in a pasuk in the Torah, the krayateru, because it's extra pasuk. V'chiloi mufna nami, and even if the word is not extra, vein lahashav aleh, the kivin the Messina Gamrin law, since a Gzeir Shava comes directly from Har Sinai, Moshe Banda got it from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't just make up your own Gzeir Shava. Where a hekesh, you can make up your own hekesh. You can say, look, it seems like the pasuk is talking about the same two different things in the same pasuk. I didn't hear from my Rebbe. It makes sense to me, hekesh. So therefore, Gzeir Shava is much stronger. V'shani achi. So what's the difference? Because it's in the same pasuk, maybe. Same pasuk is mamish strong. Over here, you're jumping from one chumash to another. One is in Shmais and one is in Bamidbar. It's Gzeir Shava, but it's but you're saying, but it came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I hear. So Gemara says, no, over here, we have a very strong pircha on the Gzeir Shava. It's such a pircha that does ruin a Gzeir Shava. Why? Because you try to learn from a woman, but a woman doesn't even leave her husband with money. That's not one of the options. It's not in the parasha b'chlal. So Mela, maybe Eved, that goes out with money, you could release him halfway. Rav Yosef Omar, another pshat. Here comes Rav Yosef.
What would the other man say about that? How would he answer that?
I don't know. He got a Kabbalah from his Rebbe and then the story. I don't know. Rav Yosef Omar, machlokes b'kesef. The whole machlokes is like this, Rabbi Yisai, in the beginning, in Rav Yosef. Kesef is always stronger than shtar. So if there's a machlokes in kesef, what's the halacha going to be by shtar? Nothing. Rabbi Yosef Omar, machlokes b'kesef. The Rebbe saw v'hevdel l'vdasa, p'duya ve'ena p'duya. V'rabbanan savri, dibra Torah kol Hashem b'nei Adam. Don't tell me v'hevdel l'vdasa. V'hevdel l'vdasa is just the way that people speak. And Mela, Rashi points out here, that if that's the case, Chachamim hold that the whole parsha of Shivcha Charufa is a slave woman who is not redeemed at all. Because v'hevda, what's the lashon over there? V'hevda le'nivdasa, say Chachamim, is not talking about she was redeemed 50%. It's just the way people talk. So it's just the way people talk, then she's a regular slave woman who's married to a Eved Ivri, who was over an Eishes Ish. She only has to bring a carbon, and the guy also only brings a carbon. I don't know, he does. She's just a slave, you're right. But when it comes to shtar, according to this pshat of Rav Yosef, shtar is much weaker than kesef. You cannot release 50% of your slave. Meisvei. How could that be? You tell me according to everybody, according to Rebbe also, shtar does what? 0. You can't release your slave 50%. But that's not true. In a shtar, Rebbe Yomikana, it does work. You just told me it doesn't work at all. Tiyufta the Rebbe Yosef. Tiyufta. It's a bam kasha. And the Gemara says not only is it a bam kasha, we have another kasha. B'shtar the pligi. Abekesef loy pligi. It says over here, Meisvei, Hameshacher, Chatzi, Avdei Bishtar. It doesn't mention anything about money. If I release my slave with a star, so I have a machloikas. But because of loy pligi, says the Gemara, it's mafurish. Two things against Rav Yosef. Not only that in star, Rebbe agrees that it works to release 50%, but also that in money, there's no argument. Mamish like Rabbi said. Says Gemara, Rav Yosef, pligi b'shtar v'adim b'kesef. Not true. No, I'm going to say, so now look at this chart for a second. It says Rav Yosef says the machlokes is b'kesef. Now it's going to say something else. Oh, I put that in afterwards. I took some of the. Now Rav Yosef says no. The machlokes is b'kesef and in shtar, both. That was my thing. I had to add it today in the morning, so it's not as gishmak as when Yoshi does it. But the machlokes is in both. The new Rav Yosef. And why does the Torah? Why are they arguing only in shtar, not in money? That even a shtar that's so weak, it can release 50%. Why don't they argue in money and say that even if a slave gives money for half of her release, she's not released at all? It's a very powerful thing. When a Rav, you bring him a chicken and he says you could eat it, it's much, much more powerful than when the Rav says don't eat it. Anybody can say don't eat it. You have to know all the halachas and tzedakah in order to be matter. So over here, Rebbe's saying that this person becomes a half a slave. That's a koyach de torah. As the Rebbe Kiveger Bam Kasha, the opposite. When you say he's not a half a slave, when you say he's a half a slave, who could he marry? Nobody. That's like saying put the chicken aside, don't eat the chicken. When you say like Chachamim that he's a complete slave and nothing happened, he's allowed to stay. He's allowed to be married to a shivcha. Isn't that a koyach de torah? It's a bam kasha. Okay, I ain't in the Rebbe Kiveger. I'm bringing it because I spoke about the Rebbe Kiveger on Shabbos, how the guy fooled the Rogachev and kept on asking him kasha the Rebbe Kiveger. Okay. So the Gemara Tashma. Vehevdei yochol lakol tamalay melin of dasa. I would think. So I just want to show you this real quickly. This I think it makes the sugi much easier. The first part of the pasuk, the ratio of the pasuk is talking about money. And we learn from that part of the pasuk that you could, with money, release a half a slave. The seifa of the pasuk, of the brisa, is talking about, not of the pasuk. The seifa of the brisa is talking about a shtar. That with a shtar, you can release half. Says the Gemara, it's like a stira. She's completely released. No. She's not released at all. So she's completely freed, and she's potter from Misa. It can't be. Okay, so how's that possible? She's 50-50. B'kesef u'b'shav kesef. And it's talking v'hevdei. What's v'hevdei? To redeem is with money. And this is, okay, so this is in the brisa. Here's the safe of the brisa. How do I know I can redeem a slave 50% with a document? From the end of the pasuk. Because of the Sefer Krisos, I'm going to use a little bit of the Gzeir Shava. Malom b'shtar, afkam b'shtar. Lo l'miishos, I learned that v'chuv shelo nitan la, that last part of this pasuk over here, la, is talking about a shtar. Where does it say in the end of the pasuk? Look at these words. Okay, it's talking about a shtar. Where does it say half a shtar? The beginning of the pasuk says v'hevdei lo nivdasa. She's redeemed and not redeemed. That means 50%. But it doesn't say chufsha loy chufsha. It says loy chufsha lo nitan la. So maybe it means 50% money releases her. Oy kula b'shtar. Chetz b'shtar minayin. How do you know that with a shtar you can release 50% of her? I do a hektish between the beginning of the pasuk and the end of the pasuk. Ma'kesev ben kula ben chetziyoy avshtar nami ben kula ben chetziyoy. As the Gemara, Bishlam Rav Yosef, Basa de Toisav. Now that I have an upshan in Rav Yosef, then what? There's a machlokes between Rebbe and Rabbanon in both Kesef and Shtar. Hamani, Rebbehi. So we have a man Omar that Kesef and Shtar both release what? 50%. So this Bryce is beautiful. Look, you see? The ratio of the Bryce says the Kesef releases 50%. The Sefer says the Shtar releases. Who does it go according to? Rebbe. Ela Rabba, Reisha Divrei Hakol. That Kesef releases 50% is according to everybody. So the first part goes according to who? Everybody. V'sefer Rebbe, it makes no sense. In one brisa, we're going to have half that goes like everybody and half that goes only according to Rebbe. All Rabbi in Reish Divrei Yaakov v'sefer Rebbe. Okay, I have no choice. That's what it's going to be. V'ashem no Rebbe he. Rebbe is the one that wrote this. Now you're right. You could add Rabbanan to it, but we're not talking about Rabbanan. We're just talking about a shita of Rebbe that money releases half and shtar releases. I can't wait until Leon sends me a text message today that it was a terrible shir. He didn't understand the thing. Chas v'shalom. Oh, Rabbi in Reish Divrei Yaakov v'sefer Rebbe. Yeah, there's a lot of deals. It's not his fault. It's not my fault. It's the Gemara. I'm doing my best there. Rashom Rebbe El Masnisin. You know what? So should we stop here? Yeah, it's very, very late. Unfortunately, we have to stop here. Rabbi Sai tonight at 9:00. Have a wonderful day.